very loose thing.
Loosey goosey, baby.
Yeah, loosey
Gonna
goosey.
I'm gonna
probably
be honest, my stomach hurts.
Relax, relax. Right, so last we left off, Robin, you were facing off against a Red Mantis assassin, and well,
Yes.
things didn't exactly go your way.
No, they did not.
No. So they managed to catch you into this dance that they do, this hypnotic pattern of blade dancing. And as your body sort of began to react to it, you lost part of your consciousness. And as things started to turn dark, everything sort of faded to black with the exception of those two tips of the sawtooth sabers sort of leading your sight. Um, you were sort of, your body became tense and essentially left you with no recourse as the blade sort of spun around your neck and they formed a cross pattern. Um, and just as you were feeling those blades start to very slowly dig into your neck, tensing up, ready to do one final rep, decapitating you. There's a brief moment in which you sort of regain control of your body just for like half a second, and you realize that there's something in your hand, that is the raven coin that you had been keeping in one of your pockets. And as you feel your head being detached from your body, you feel the coin sort of start to slip from your hand. You see it from a weird angle as your head is sort of spinning in the air. You see your body falling behind you. You see the coin start to spin, and it continues to spin, and you see it hit the ground, and then it keeps going, as if the perspective was completely wrong. It just feels like you're looking at an image of something, like a liquid going through it, and the coin just keeps going and it becomes smaller, and then you realize that the room around you that was somewhat opaque, somewhat out of focus from this the prayer attack that was on you sort of fades, and it fades to black, and then it continues to become murkier. Even there's something about it, even though it's like a pitch black without any kind of detail, you can tell that there's something sort of slithering and shifting about it, almost like as if you were looking into a pool of deep black oil rippling across the surface. And then you see a twinkling light here and there, and then almost as if you were looking at a starry sky, you see lights start to fill in the void. You see stars and galaxies sort of spreading far apart. You see sort of hue of blue and purple replace that blackness, and you see light sort of bending, not quite forming a shape, but you can tell that there is something there, sort of ethereally in front of you, a distortion in front of you. And you can feel your body intact. Your head is still attached to your body. And you hear a voice inside of your head sort of echoing and says, "Ah, so we are here again, Robin. I have the same question to make you as I have done before. I expect you will answer the same fashion you've always done. And yet, the choice is yours. And if you don't think there is one." And as you hear this voice sort of echoing in your mind, you see this distortion in space in front of you begin to coalesce a little bit more. It becomes a figure, almost humanoid, of the as if made of the very fabric of the space, around you, and you see it sort of begin to bend inwards until you see galaxies and stars coalescing inside of this vaguely humanoid creature, and they sort of extend a hand to you. And for a moment, you see this being in front of you, and you hear their voice echoing inside your mind. Would you save these poor souls, your friends, your family, the one you've built, not the one you were given? Would you save those in need? Would you save the world that you've come to know? I know you wish to, otherwise you would not be here. But would you still do so at the cost of something unimaginable? The cost of your own family, the one you were given, or the moment of true love? Would you be willing to sacrifice it all for them? And when he says them, you see their body, that sort of inky blackness, becomes completely transparent, and through them, instead of the galaxies that are behind you, you see the room in which Silera and her parents are currently unconscious, laying on the table. And you see the door slowly open up, and you see the Red Mantis assassin begin to take a couple steps into the room, trickling blood from their blades. And as they take their second step, they begin to slow down until their walking becomes a crawl. Their foot, midair, stops, as if the entire room were held in stasis. And the creature, still somewhat ethereal, is just sort of the bending of light in this room. Sort of looks at you. You can feel its gaze burning into you, waiting a response.
So Robin's still kind of fucked up, because he did just get his head cut off.
Yep.
So he's kind of choked up. He's having a hard time speaking. But given what the entity has just said, what's going through Robin's head is, basically save Silera and the world, and all that gist. You know, like short term save the Sunstress family, long term save the world. But also, Robin has to sacrifice. Is what's going through his head, what's processing. He has to sacrifice any sort of chance of redemption, of like rebuilding his relationship with his father, kind of thing. And Robin's like, yeah, that boat's kind of already sailed, so let's just do this. That's what's going through his head, but he can't say anything because he's like freaking out because he just fucking died. So he's sort of just gonna reach his hand forward as he's like floating in this void to like reach out to this entity's hand to take it.
Yeah. You see, as you stretch out your hand, the creature, it feels like you're watching an entity that is cosmically sized, right? It's hard to comprehend how big it is, but also it's far away enough maybe that it is the size of a human. And as it stretches its hand towards you, you feel it sort of bend the space around you more so than move towards you. Its hand sort of stretched out, closing in on yours. And you see the interior of their body, this sort of almost projection that is happening inside of them, changes for a moment. And it shows, for the time being, it shows a office that seems somewhat familiar, but it's not the one that you recall, not the one from Richard Banks. It's one that's you've seen much more recently. You see trinkets and books covering the walls. You see the mahogany wood desk with a pair of skulls and a crow standing on top of one of them. And you see a man with black hair, stringy, sort of falling over their face. They're wearing some dirty shirt that has clearly seen better days. And they're toiling away at some papers, reading through pages and books upon books upon books. And you can see this as your hand is sort of stretching towards the entity, and it feels like you're stretching your hand for what now feels like minutes, and now it's like becoming slower, as if you were pushing through a current against you. And inside of this image, you see the same man, which you can vaguely recognize as being a much younger looking, perhaps, Frank, Sir Frank Lionyuki. He's raising his head and sort of looking in the direction, in your direction, and you see him sort of look around in the room in a panic for a moment. They reach for their neck, making sure that their necklace is still in place, and you see a woman and a child sort of walking into the room, placing their hands on his shoulder, and as they do, he sort of shakes violently, looking in the direction that they were just a moment ago, as they sort of become ethereal next to him, and sort of lifts a hand and tries to touch the air where the figures were just a moment ago. And then you feel your hand about an inch away from this creature's hand, and you see the image inside of them change again. And instead you see another office, a room to be precise. There's a large bed. You can hear the rainfall outside. You can feel the warmth in the room. You can hear the danger, the panic in the voices of the people in this room. You hear a man. You hear the voice of Richard Banks calling out to the medics. You hear them calling out to the clerics. Do something! Do something! As they are running towards the bed. And you can see a woman that you've only seen in paintings, as she is laid bare, their belly open, blood spilled on the bed. A man carrying a baby moves away from the bed as they are rushing over to assist Miss Tessa Jagare Banks. And that moment, your hand is about to touch with the creature. And as it does, you feel a pinch run up your arm, like a jolt running through your nerves, all the way up your arm and into your brain. And you see the woman in the bed sort of blinks a couple times, and she too sort of looks in your direction. She gives a warm smile, and then you see her eyes close as she relaxes, still holding the hand of her husband. And then you see the body become pitch black once again. This sort of room in which you were, this cosmic void, starts to dim out. And instead, you start to come to. You hear the sound of horses. You hear the sound of people talking, some mundane thing. And as you look around, well, you're on the back of a horse as it trots along, moving towards the Sunstress mansion. And that is all we have for today because we're gonna pick it back up on Wednesday.
Okay.
Time travel, cool.
Feels like